But I want to begin with the scandal that has the royal family in an uproar. Allegations that Prince Andrew had sex with an underage girl and similar accusations against Alan Dershowitz. Both vehemently deny the charges. CNN's Gene Casares has the story.
The usually stoic and silent Buckingham Palace has become very vocal, denying allegations in a federal lawsuit tying His Royal Highness Prince Andrew to sex crimes. There is nothing to suggest this is true, a palace statement says. We have no record of such a meeting. The second son of Queen Elizabeth is not charged in the ongoing federal lawsuit, but it puts him right in the middle of an alleged sexual abuse ring from 1999 to 2002 that was allegedly run by international financier Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein pleaded guilty to solicitation of prostitution. In 2008, he was sentenced to 18 months behind bars. He served 13 months. Epstein was known to hobnob with the rich and famous, including Prince Andrew. When the two were spotted walking in Central Park in 2011 after Epstein had become a registered sex offender, the British press went crazy.
You're an embarrassment, sir. Prince Andrew, are you resigning?
His friendship cost Prince Andrew his job as the UK trade representative. Now the alleged victims are suing the U.S. government, saying their rights had been violated in the Epstein plea deal. And at least one victim has named Prince Andrew by name. Jane Doe number 3 was forced to have sexual relations with this prince when she was a minor in 3 separate geographical locations, in London, New York, and on Epstein's private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands. According to the suit, young women were paid to come to Epstein's home in Florida to give him massages, where they were allegedly sexually assaulted. The defense says the girls lied about their ages and that there was never any sexual molestation. Prince Andrew has not been charged, but the allegations have led to 2 public denials from the royal family, including one that brazenly names the accuser. It is emphatically denied that HRH, the Duke of York, had any form of sexual contact or relationship with Virginia Roberts. The allegations made are false and without any foundation. The federal lawsuit also names high-profile criminal defense lawyer Alan Dershowitz. And this story is quickly becoming an international story. Of course, it is all over the networks in Britain, but right here in the United States, the New York Post is showing pictures of who they say is Virginia Roberts. CNN does not normally name an accuser in a sexual assault case, but because Ms. Roberts did her own interview with a British tabloid, that is why we are stating her name. Don?
Joining me now, Alan Dershowitz. His latest book is Terror Tunnels, now available on ebook. So, Alan, you were also mentioned in the court documents, and here's what it says. It says, in part, Epstein required Jane Doe number 3 to have sexual relations with Dershowitz on numerous occasions while she was a minor, not only in Florida, but also on private planes in New York, New Mexico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. In addition to being a participant in the abuse of Jane Doe number 3 and other minors, Dershowitz was an eyewitness to the sexual abuse of many other minors by Epstein and several of Epstein's co-conspirators. What's your response to those very serious allegations? You've already responded legally, I understand.
Well, they're all made up, just totally out of whole cloth. I don't know this woman. I've never met her. I've never been with her. I never had sex with her or any kind of contact with her. Never saw any illegal activities. I've just filed a sworn affidavit which subjects me to perjury prosecution. You know, this is all beyond the statute of limitations. I didn't have to do anything. I could ignore it. But I filed a sworn statement in which I not only categorically deny everything, I go through each of them. And I say, yes, I was on the island in the Caribbean with my wife and my daughter, a distinguished professor at Harvard from the business school, his wife, in-laws and children. We were all together, and my wife and my daughter were never separate from me for the 24 hours I was there. As far as New Mexico is concerned, where she claimed she had sex with me, I was there only once before the building was complete. No one was in the building. It was totally empty. Jeffrey Epstein wasn't there. We just looked around with 2 of my friends, my daughter, my wife. We left. As to the airplanes, there are manifests that will prove beyond any doubt that I was never on an airplane, private airplane, with this woman or any other underage girl. So, you know, she's a serial liar. She has said that Bill Clinton was with her at an orgy on Jeffrey's Island. The Secret Service records will show that didn't happen. She said she met the Queen. Buckingham Palace records showed that didn't happen. Why would anyone believe this woman with a criminal record, this woman who has lied through her teeth repeatedly about many world leaders? The blame is clearly with the lawyers.
So then,
the lawyers could easily have found this out by just doing a little bit of checking. Why didn't they?
so why are you being targeted? As you mentioned, the lawyers. Why would someone target you, Alan Dershowitz, with these very serious allegations?
Well, I fit beautifully into the profile because they want to be able to challenge the plea agreement. And I was one of the lawyers who organized the plea agreement. I got the very good deal for Jeffrey Epstein. I plead guilty for getting him a good deal. That's my job. And if they could find a lawyer who helped draft the agreement, who also was a criminal having sex, wow, that can help them blow up the agreement. So they sat down together, the three of them, these two sleazy, unprofessional, disbarable lawyers, Paul Casale, former federal judge, current professor, and another sleazy lawyer from Florida, Brad Edwards, whose partner is in jail for 50 years for trying to sell Epstein cases fraudulently. They sat down together and they said, who would fit into this description? A lawyer who knows Epstein, who helped draft, Dershowitz. So they and the woman got together and contrived and made this up. They've been talking to the woman for years. She never alleged me before. She never made any mention. Many of the others were mentioned before. First time my name was mentioned was a week ago.
So explain your relationship, though.
Totally.
This is a Wall Street billionaire. His name is Jeffrey Epstein. Your connection to him. You said he and several lawyers got. Right. You represented him, and you got a good deal for him.
I did. That's right. I worked with Ken Starr. I worked with many other very prominent lawyers, Jerry Lefcourt, Jay Lefkowitz, and we, for months, negotiated with the government. It was one of the toughest negotiations we ever had. We were fighting arm's length. Finally, we persuaded them they did not have a strong case, and they agreed to drop the federal prosecution if he would agree to plead to a state charge, for which he got 18 months in prison. That was a deal. My client didn't think it was such a good deal for soliciting a minor for sex. My client didn't think it was such a good deal. That's the way these things usually work out. You walk out of a negotiation, neither party is completely satisfied. So you complain. But you don't go after the lawyer and falsely charge him with a sex act, which you know he didn't commit, because you just have to look at the evidence, look at the plane manifestos, look at my travel, look at my passport, call me, ask me, I can produce the witnesses. The lawyers didn't do that.
It's a stuff out of television. It sounds like a Law and Order.
Of scrolling something on a bathroom wall.
It sounds like a Law and Order episode. Have you ever in your career seen anything like this happening to an attorney who represented someone?
No, I've never seen two lawyers like Paul Casale and Brad Edwards engage in such unethical, disbarable conduct. And I'm accusing them on your show of unethical conduct. I'm opening myself up to a defamation lawsuit. I'm asking her to file criminal rape charges against me. I am waiving the statute of limitations or any immunity. But if she files a false rape charge against me, she goes to jail for filing a false charge.
You're going to sue them.
What these two lawyers and this woman have done to rape victims, I'm suing them. These two lawyers and this woman have hurt rape victims so much by putting forth a fake rape victim. They have hurt rape victims. They've hurt other kinds of victims. Every feminist, every victim of rape should be furious at this woman, should be furious at these lawyers. They claim to be victims' rights lawyers. They create victims, but they picked the wrong victim this time. They picked an innocent victim, and I'm not going to rest until not only am I completely vindicated, but they admit that they willfully and knowingly filed this legal paper knowing that it was completely false.
So you categorically deny everything. CNN Tonight, I need to say this, reached out to Virginia Roberts' attorneys, right? And here's what her attorneys, Brad Edwards, told CNN, and this is via email, and this was on Friday. It said, we intend only to litigate the relevant issues in court and not to play into any sideshow attempted by anyone. We do not plead anything before carefully investigating all of the allegations first. Your reaction, Alan?
Well, they are hiding. What they did is they filed this thing in a document that gives them protection and privilege. They didn't ask to prove it. They didn't ask for a hearing. They didn't ask for anything. They just threw it out there and expected me to remain silent. Now we're trying to file a motion to intervene. I hope the court lets us in, because otherwise I have no legal response, and of course I will have to sue them for defamation, and we'll have to bring charges against them in front of the Bar Association. I need a legal forum in which to litigate this. I want witnesses. I want the documentary evidence to come forward. We will destroy the credibility of this woman, because she is a serial liar who's lied about so many people, and the public has to know that she has lied, and these lawyers have tried to destroy my reputation. The end result will be they will no longer be able to practice law. Paul Casale should not be able to teach students. He should not be able to practice law. A law license is not a license to victimize innocent people the way they've done.
I have to ask you, Prince Andrew is mentioned in this. Why drag Prince? First of all, you know Prince Andrew. How do you know him, and why drag the prince into this?
I've met him a few times. I've met him in public occasions. He came to my class at Harvard Law School. We had a dinner. I had a dinner with him at the British consulate. They brought him in on the craziest of theories. They argue that Prince Andrew, because he had sex, which there's no evidence that he did, tried to influence and did influence the plea bargaining negotiation. Can you imagine a British prince calling up an American prosecutor in Florida and trying to influence an American justice system? They'd hang the phone up, they would laugh, they would go out to dinner on that for months. And as Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer, I would never let Prince Andrew make a phone call. He'd make a fool of himself. He'd make a fool of all of us. Princes don't call prosecutors and try to influence the outcome of a case. But that's what they're alleging. That's how stupid their legal document is. But they had to bring in, they have to find an excuse to bringing in the prince because they wanted maximum publicity.
So you have signed your legal response, and that is in the process of, in the court system now.
I have.
So what do you anticipate will be your next move?
Well, we are planning to file a defamation action in various parts of the world, perhaps in London, perhaps in New York, perhaps in Florida. Everywhere where the defamation has occurred, we're going to file a lawsuit demanding that they prove what they've alleged. They can't because it's not true. We're going to file disciplinary charges against the lawyers for failing to take even the most minimal steps of trying to corroborate the word of this serial liar who's had a long, long history of lying. They can't just believe a serial liar and put in a piece of paper, not even asking for a hearing, just saying, the piece of paper is there, let it lie there, let the media pick it up. By the way, they dropped a dime on the media when they filed it. Otherwise, the media never would have noticed a filing in Palm Beach County just before New Year's. So clearly, they had to have notified the press of this. The purpose of the legal proceeding was to get you folks to cover this story.
All right. And here we are doing it. Alan Dershowitz, thank you.
Right. Thank you.